Mike.
Hi, Amy.
Great speech today, and
Thanks
thank
so
you
much.
for the insight into the future of American energy. Thanks for making time for me to be here today.
Of course, and you're pretty new to API.
I am brand new. Not quite brand new.
Well, we're sorry to make you the news anchor of SOAE this year.
I'm happy to be here. However, I'm not used to being in front of the camera. I'm much better suited behind camera, roaming the halls of Congress, and that's where I'm more comfortable.
Right, you actually worked for Congressman Henry Cuellar of Texas, as
I did. Great energy producing state and energy champion. Now, my experience with Henry Cuellar has given me the opportunity to ask very tough questions, which I'm going to now turn to you. I know the audience is very excited to have your perspective on some great questions that they've submitted, and they have been rolling in. So if you're ready to go,
I'm
dive
ready.
right in. Well, this time last year, you gave us an outlook of how API and the industry was looking to engage with the incoming Biden administration. We're now 1 year in, it's officially 2022. How are things going?
Well, I think first of all, one of the most important things we did in 2021 was roll out the API Climate Action Framework. This was the industry's perspective on how to address the key challenge of climate change in 2021 and beyond. I'm excited to report that we've made great progress on the climate framework, and it also gave us a way to talk to this administration about one of their top priorities. We're excited that they have looked at the framework, they've engaged us on the framework, and we're hopeful that going into 2022, we can continue to talk to them about the important priorities that we laid out in the framework. One example of progress that we've made, however, is the bipartisan infrastructure bill actually put in place historic investments into carbon capture, which is one of the key planks of the framework that we put in place last year.
Well, since joining API, I know there was a member of the White House who actually showed up to headquarters with the climate action frame in hand, so you're making great progress in that front. Shifting from the White House to Capitol Hill, which you're very familiar with, what do you anticipate is coming out of Congress in the next couple months?
Well, as you know, they didn't quite get their homework done at the end of last year, and they have a lot of work to do on the president's Build Back Better plan. So I know that that's going to be a top focus in the first quarter of this year. We have some major concerns about the plan that came out of the United States House of Representatives, particularly a new tax on natural gas. As I think all the viewers know, natural gas prices are going up because we're in the middle of a cold winter, and there have been restrictions on supply that have come as a consequence of some of the policy decisions that have been made by this administration. So we're focused on reversing those policy decisions, but at the same time, we have to stop this natural gas tax because that would just mean higher prices for American consumers. So I know the administration and the Congress are also going to be focused on how do you fund the government before February 18th, but the focus after that is done is going to be on the Build Back Better plan.
Well, it looks like we'll have our work cut out for us once they get their homework done, assuming they get it done. You've touched on some of the opportunities and challenges dealing with the administration and Congress as it relates to climate change. We've often heard you say that climate change is one of the greatest challenges of our time. How do you see the industry making progress in that space, and what are some of the ways in which the industry is making meaningful energy transition?
So first of all, let's put that challenge in perspective. We know that world population is probably going to increase by 2050 by 2 billion people to almost 10 billion people throughout the world. Second of all, we know that energy demand, energy use is only going to increase. In fact, some experts predict that energy demand is going to go up by 50% by 2050. So the challenge that we have is how do we continue to meet that demand, which is going to grow because of population growth and because people are going to be using and demanding more energy, while at the same time you continue to reduce emissions and address the risks of climate change. So that's really the challenge that we have to pursue. One of the ways that this industry is focused on addressing that challenge is through investments in carbon capture technology. We've talked about it before. I talked about it in my speech about how we need to continue to invest in those technologies because we believe that it is the way that we're going to really address this challenge from an industry perspective. This is an industry that has actually pioneered this technology, and we're continuing to make investments in it every single year. We were pleased that the bipartisan infrastructure bill, for example, made historic investments into carbon capture. And we're excited that we'll have the opportunity to partner with governments, with outside experts, and our industry to continue to address this challenge on a commercial scale.
Well, that's exciting to hear and exciting to see what's in the future. Obviously, a question that you're probably not surprised to get is about COVID-19. We are seeing many iterations of pandemic life. As we are looking to get out of this pandemic and have post-pandemic life, how do you see U.S. energy on the global stage?
Yeah, so obviously the pandemic was a real shock to the system, not just for the energy industry, but for almost every industry in the world. Just from a global perspective, if you think about, for example, what energy demand, what oil demand in particular, what happened to it as a consequence of the pandemic, you know, on any average day, the world usually consumes about 100 million barrels of oil every single day. And in a 2-month period, we went down from 100 million barrels a day of use to about 80 million barrels of use. We're slowly creeping back up to that 100 million barrel use a day as people start to go back to work and back to school. But we're going to have to continue to produce more to meet those growing demands that the American people and the world are going to have to continue their growth to prosperity. So it was a huge shock, but we're excited about the opportunities that we have to continue to produce energy in an environmentally responsible way and lead the world again as the world's largest producer of oil and natural gas.
Well, it's winter and my traffic hasn't slowed down any, so demand is clearly up. I'll give you one last question, and it's one that's popular amongst our viewers, and it's getting your perspective on the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our viewers really want to hear what the industry is doing and what API is doing to make progress in that space.
This is a top-tier priority for API and our member companies. We know that the future of the workforce is going to be more diverse. We also know from publicly available studies that a diverse workforce performs better than one that is just a certain segment of the population. So we need to continue to grow a diverse workforce. There are a couple of different ways we can do it. Within the industry itself, we can focus on it. We also have to focus on it from our suppliers that supply our great industry. And then third, we also have to focus on the future. We have initiatives in all of those areas, and I want to highlight a couple of those. First of all, on the supplier side, we have an initiative now at API where we're working with our member companies to make sure that that supply chain and the suppliers to this industry are from diverse communities. And we're excited about the work that we've done in this space, and it's going to continue to grow. And then on the future, we're trying to make sure that we have access to diverse populations that are going to be the future of our workforce. And one of the things that we're doing is we're taking our world-class standards and we're sharing them, we're giving them for free to minority-serving institutions in the United States so that students that are in engineering and geology programs and computer science programs already have access to those before they even graduate from university. We launched this program in 2021 at Southern University in one of the energy capitals of the United States, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We've since given those standards to Grambling and to Prairie View A&M in Houston. And what we're confident of is that as students have access to these standards, they're going to be ready on day one when they join the great oil and gas industry in the United States. And it's a good thing for us because they'll know what they need to do on day one, and it's a great thing for these institutions to give these kids a leg up before they even come into the workforce.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for making time to sit down with me and answer some great questions and really get into the weeds of the future of American energy. It's been great.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Mike. And to our viewers, thank you so much for engaging with API, and thank you for sending some very great thought-provoking questions. We hope that you continue this conversation online by using the hashtag SOAE2022. Thank you. Until next time.
Thanks, everybody.